So welcome back everyone. So in this tutorial I'm going to teach you how to set up your development environment for developing React Native applications. So first we are going to need a couple of things. We are going to need Android Studio. That's if you want to develop for Android, and Xcode if you want to develop for macOS. But Android Studio can be downloaded for both. It can be downloaded for both Mac, and it also can be downloaded for Windows. So in this case I'm going to show you how to download Android Studio, but if you're using Mac you can go to the App Store and then you can download Xcode. It is fairly simple. So we can download our Android Studio. We can agree, then we download it, then the download will start. But for me, in my case, I already have it, so I will cancel the download. Then when you are done downloading Android Studio, you install it. So let me go to since I already have it, I'm going to go to my downloads. Let me come here to my folder. Then I'll go to my downloads. Then for my downloads, I'll look for Android Studio, which is here. I'll double click it and then open. And then I'm going to show you the process for installing it through. So after it opening, where is it opened in? It is opening. I'll click here, yes. Then for me, I already have it installed, so it's going to tell me to uninstall the previous version which I already have installed. So for you, what you do, you just follow the prompt, install until the end, and it will install it. Yes. So after that, when you have done installing Android Studio, go to Node. Go to this website here, nodejs.org /en/download, and then choose Node for your operating system and then download it. So for me, in my case, I have Windows. I would pick my Windows installer. Since I have a 64-bit, I would pick it, then it will start to install. Cancel. So when it's done in downloading, you can open up the file and then follow the prompt and then install. So when you are done with Node, go to Visual Studio Code. For me, in my case, I'm going to use Visual Studio Code. Download it for your operating system. So for my case, I'll be using Windows. I'll click it and then I'll download it for my operating system. But since I already have it, I'll cancel. So after me downloading it, you open the file and then follow the prompt and then install your Visual Studio Code. So after installing Visual Studio Code, you can open your let me call it. So after you having your Visual Studio Code installed, just after it's downloaded, double click here on the downloaded file and then install it. It's just a quick follow through prompt. So after installing it, you come and then you open it. Visual Studio Code, open it. So it will open. So after opening, let me increase the size, Ctrl plus. The size has been increased. Then you come here to your search, and then you come here to your extensions, and then you start installing some extensions. So the first extension you will install is called React. Let me call React Native. So let it load. So the first one you will install is called React Native Tools. So you install this one, React Native Tools. After installing React Native Tools, you also come here and also install React Native /React/Redux. After installing that, you come and also install Prettier. It will help to format our code. Prettier here. So you install Prettier. So after installing Prettier, you come also and install Material Icon Theme. Now this Material Icon Theme, it will help us to beautify our icons in our files. So if I come here to my files, these icons here, it will help beautify them. So after that, my Visual Studio Code is set and ready for development. Then Since you already installed Node Package Manager, you can open your command prompt. Open the command prompt. Then I'm going to increase the size of the command prompt. Then in the command prompt, type npm I, which we install -global. Then you install expo -cli. Since me I already have it installed, I'm not going to press enter, but you press enter, then it will install for you. It will install for you those packages. So after it installing, it means that you already have expo installed. Now since you have expo installed, now it's time to set up our Android development or our Android emulator. So to do that, open your Android Studio since you already have it installed. It will take some time to load. Open your Android Studio. This is the latest version at the time of recording the video, which is Dolphin. So my Android Studio will get open. After me opening my Android Studio, come here to More Actions. Then from More Actions, go to SDK Manager. So my SDK Manager will open. Since I'm on my SDK Manager, come here to SDK Platforms. You can install the Android version you want. You could go with the latest. For me, which I installed here in this case was Tiramisu. Then you can also install the one you would like, Android 11, Android 10. You click it. Then after clicking it, go here to SDK Tools. Now make sure these ones are checked. Your Android SDK Build Tools. Make sure your Android Emulator, your Android SDK Platform Tools, then your Intel AX Emulator Accelerator is also checked. Now, if you have an AMD processor, you check your processor. If it's Intel, then that's okay. If you have an AMD processor, you have to check this Android Emulator Hypervisor driver for AMD processors. You have to check it. So after making all those checks, you click here Apply. So if I had this one checked, this Apply button will be highlighted, or it will be given live or something like that. Then you click it Apply, then it will install for you all those checks that you made. So that will take some time. After installing those checks, let me go out from here. Then you come here to Virtual Device Manager. So when you come to Virtual Device Manager, you click Create a Virtual Device. So after clicking a virtual device, you pick any virtual device, but pick the one with Play Store already installed. Then you click Next. After that, then you will have to select a system image. Now the system image which you can select, it is usually large, it's like 1 GB. So you click it. If your internet is fast enough, it can be downloaded very fast, but my internet in this case is not fast enough. So I already pre-installed this system image of Android Tiramisu. Then you can pick whichever other system image you want to also download. I also downloaded the system image for Android 10. You can pick for Android 7 if you would like. So in this case, I'm going to select that. Then I press my Next. Then I will name my virtual device. So whatever name you would like to name it, you name it. Then you press Finish. So in this case, I don't want to create a new virtual device. So after pressing Finish, your virtual device will be created. So if after your virtual device being created, it would appear here. So it appears here. You click here, Run, to launch your virtual device. Press here, Cancel. Then my virtual device is being launched. It will take some time to launch. So as my virtual device is to be launched, wait for it to get launched here. So after it launching, I'll turn it on. It should come on. So in this case, my virtual device would have started. Now, when my virtual device has started, you go to your Play Store. Remember, we had picked the system image with Play Store already pre-installed. So in this case, when you open yours, you will have to first sign in into Play Store using your email. Let me click here, wait. It's trying to be slow. You'll have to sign into Play Store using your email. So I got it. So after signing into Play Store using your email, you can come here for search. Then as you search, you have to install now. wait, you have to install Expo. You can type Expo and then it would launch, and then you'll have to install Expo. So let me place wait. So after installing Expo, then everything in your virtual device here would be fine. So let me take away my device, bring it back this side. Now we have to create our Expo project. So I'm going to change into directory into my desktop. Then in my desktop I already have a directory called React Native. So I'm just going to change into, then I'm going to put React, because I already created a directory called React Native. So I'll change into that directory. So after changing into that directory, now I have to create my project. So to create my project, you can type npx, then create -expo -app, then the name of the app. So the name of the app which I'm going to suggest to create, I'm going to call it, let's say, I'm going to call it my app, maybe 2, my app 2. Then you press enter. So when you press enter, it will start to create your new Expo app. So it is going to take some time. So I'll be back when it is done. So now in my case it is done. It is done installing creating my app, I mean. So after me creating my app, I can clear out from here, CLS. So after clearing out from there, I can change directory into my -app 2. So after me changing directory into my -app 2, then I can run my npm start. So when I run my npm start, it will start for me my application. Npm start. So now press Ctrl C. First terminate the job. Terminate the bad job. So after terminating it, first I need to open my new app in Visual Studio Code. So you run the command code, then space, then dot. It will open for me my application in Visual Studio Code. So it's here opened in Visual Studio Code. Let me expand it. So I can come here to my app.js, and then it is opened in my Visual Studio Code. So after it being opened in my Visual Studio Code, I need to now run my application now to test that everything is working and my environment has been set properly. So then I can run my npm start. So when I run my npm start, my application will start to run. Take some time. And then my application has been started. Now you can run your application in the web. You press W. To run it on Android, you press A. So I'm going to press A for it to run it on my Android. A. Where is it? And it's opening in Android. And remember, when you're running it in Android, make sure that your virtual device is open here. So if your virtual device is open here, make sure that it is open for it to, now Expo will be started and then to run in Expo. So my Expo has been started and the application to show that it is running successfully. Taking some time bundling it. Looks to be at 0.00. I'm just going to bundle it quickly. Bundling it's at 3%. So let's wait for it to bundle completely. Searching 50%. If you had if your CPU was faster, maybe your computer is an i9 because mine is an i7. But if yours was like an i9 and faster, it would this would be bundled very quickly. The reason why this one is not being bundled quickly, my CPU is strong but my graphics card is weak. I'm having Ultra HD, so it's kind of weak. That's why the bundling is taking some long time. So when it's done bundling, to 100%. So it has bundled to 100%. Now here you can say open app.js to start working on your application. So when we come here to Visual Studio Code, let me close this. When we come here to Visual Studio Code, let me remove this. Then you can see this is the text that we have there. To increase the size, you can press Ctrl, then plus. So this is the text that we have there. Open up app.js. So you can remove this text and then put there maybe your name. Like my name is Henry. So when I put there my name and I save and I come back to my virtual device, you can see that Henry is now my new text that has been placed there. So that is how you set up the environment, and everything is working smoothly. Everything is working smoothly. So that is how you set up your environment. So now welcome back. In the previous video we set up our environment and everything was working properly, but now we are working in React Native. Now let's come here and look at our file system. So in our file system, this folder here contains our node packages. This folder here will contain our assets like images, music, and so forth on. Now this app.js is where we write our main application. So this is where we're going to be writing mainly our main application. Then this app.json will have our different information about our app, like the name of the app, maybe the slug of the app, the orientation of the app is in portrait. It will have the icon of the app. The icon of the app will be these icons we have on your application. That will be the image. It should point to it. Now you will have the splash. Now the splash is that initial image that is shown as the app is loading. So then this one will also have our to point to where that initial image is, and other configurations for our application. Now our bubble config file is also here. Now bubble, it is that application that will help to convert our application from JSX to native code. Now our package.json, it will have our dependencies mostly. It will have any dependency that we shall add onto our Expo application will be put here at our packages.json. So that is a brief overlook of our file system here of the Expo. So then we can go to our app.js. We can collapse this bar. So then there are different functions and some different applications and objects in this file. Now you should be, at this point on, you should know JavaScript. You should know some basic understanding of JavaScript, and also you should know some basic understanding of HTML, CSS, and also you should know some basic understanding of React. Now, after having this basic understanding of these different softwares, you should be able to understand what's happening here. In this case here, you can know that this is a JavaScript function. Now, we are importing our different components. Now, this Stylesheet is not a component, it's an API. Text is a component, view is a component, and then we are importing them from React Native. So these components are the same as, like, if you know how HTML are, the HTML tags, the li tag, and those different tags in HTML. These components are the same. So now we're going to talk about the view component in this case. So the view component, to make the view component, you open your angle bracket and put view. So this is how the view component looks, and then you close it. Now the view component has different props or properties. In React usually they call them as props. So it has the style prop, which will point to our style. It will point to our style. Now the style here that we are pointing to is styles.container. So this styles.container, we have defined it down here. we called our Stylesheet API, and then from the Stylesheet API we made the create. The create what? We call the create function, and in the create function we opened up a new object, and in this new object we defined our container, and in the container we defined our different properties or our different styles that we would like. That's why they appear here in our virtual device. So there are different types of view components. For example, if we had removed this align items and justify content, we deleted it and saved it, then you can see where our text is. Our text is here, this Henry. It went up. But if you're on iOS and you would like to solve this problem, you come here on import and you import safe area view. So then press here comma. After importing our safe area view, you can highlight this and then use the command Ctrl D, and it will highlight both of them. Then you can now change it to safe, both of them at once, safe area view. Escape. So if you are, the reason why I'm getting an error here is because safe area view, it is not supported in Android. But if you are on iOS, this Henry should now be coming down here. Now later in the tutorial, I will show you how to make this Henry come down. But previously, why that Henry was down, let me press Ctrl Z, is because I had this property in my styles of align items, which aligns it to the center, and also justify content, which justifies it to the center. But I'm going to, in the coming videos, or when you go on, I'm going to explain what align items means and what justify content means. So that is now an overview of the Expo or React Native file system, and how some codes are organized. And again, for you to understand most of this, you should know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React as your basic knowledge. So thank you for watching. So welcome back. Now in this video we are going to talk about our text component. Now let me remove this status bar auto, delete it out. So we are going to be talking about our text component. Let me increase the size. So this is the text component we are talking about. Text. And this text component enables us, we need to first import it from React. So if it's not working, make sure that it's imported from React. So now this text component, it enables us to display text onto our screen. So now the text I would like to display, let me change it to hello, then world. Then I can save. Then I will check my virtual device and I can see it has been changed to hello world. Now different text components, let me try to, then let me tab it here, then let me backspace. So different text components have different properties. So our text component can have a property like a property on press. So I can put a property on press. Now my property on press you need to pass to it a function. So I can define my function quickly here. Then I define my function. Then on my function I'm going to say console.log. Then maybe I'm going to say console.log. I'm going to say pressed. Let me define my function. I'm going to say console.log pressed. So when I press my text here, it's going to console.log pressed. So if I come back to my virtual device and I click here, now you're not seeing anything happening. But if I come here to my debug, and then you can see here log pressed. So if I press here again, press on my virtual device, and then let me press enter, you can see that log has been pressed. So that is one of the properties that text has. But what other properties does text has? Text have, I mean. For you to see the other properties that text have, you can go to our React Native dev/docs/text. And then here on the right hand side, you'll be able to see the different properties that the text component has. Now, one of the let me pick out one and then I explain. Number of lines. Now, this number of lines property, what does it do? If I have long text, it is going to truncate my text into a certain number of lines. So let's give an example of that. Let me give some long text. Copy. Then I'm going to paste hello world multiple times so that my text becomes very long. So now, when my text is very long, I'm going to add another property here. So I can click here, enter. Click here, enter. Then I'm going to add another property here. The property will be number of lines. Now, the number of lines I'm going to put is 2. Then I save. So, when I come here, I can see that my text has been put into 2 lines, and then at the end of the second line, it was truncated. But what if I want to put it in 3 lines? I can come here and choose 3. And then here you can see that my text has now been put into 3 lines, and at the end of the 3rd line, it was truncated. That is one of the properties of text. But text, when you come here to the documentation, text has multiple properties. And you can go through the different properties according to what you would like to use the different properties for. And then you use the property the way you want to use it. But you have to first read through the documentation. But I cannot go through every single property for text because there are really many. To take hours to just go through every single property in text. So if you would like to find some functionality that you would like to use when you're designing your application, you can come to the documentation and look at the text properties, and then you can pick one from it. But let's go back to Visual Studio Code. Now, this is usually this short form of defining a function. You usually use it when what you want to do is short. It's like in its short form. But unless otherwise, you can come here to our app function, and then you do const handle, then press is equal to, then you do our brackets, is equal to our brackets, then you equal sign, and then the forward anchor bracket, and then you do your console dot log, then pressed, our console dot log pressed. So now in this case I've defined a function outside my return function. So now in this case, instead of defining my function inside press, I can remove this and then I pass in my handle press. So this functionality will work out the same way. Now, when you're usually defining functions for event properties like on press, the conversion of defining that function usually first it comes with handle, then the next one is the event property that you're trying to define for a function. So it will go handle press. So if it was like an event, let's go back and let's look for an event here. Different events. So these are the different events that the text component has. It has on long press, on layout, on long press, on move, should, set, responder. Now if I was defining a function for, let's say, on long press, by conversion in React Native, what you would do, it will first start with handle, then the next one will be long press. It means that now I'm defining a function for long press. That's the function I'm now defining. So now I can delete that out, and then but the function I'm defining is for the event. It's for the event property of on press. So then here I can save. Now that is how you would work out with using text. Thank you for watching. Catch you in the next video. So welcome back. Now in this video, what we are going to do, let me delete this from the previous video, and then let it be let my text be Henry. So in this video, we are now going to be talking about, let me just call it Hen. So now in this video, what we are going to be talking about images. How do we add images in React Native? So React Native has an image component. So to get our image component, we have to first import it from React Native. So we come here, comma, then we import our image component. So after importing our image component, we come here in the view or the main container, and we call our image component. Now our image component will be called on like this. We don't need to recall on image. You don't need to come back here and put your image. You just open your anchor brackets and then put image and then close it. So now, since we have now called our image component, we need to show it where our image is. So to show it where our image is, we type in the property source. The property source will equal to make our object, then we call our require, close our parentheses. Now after calling our require, we need to show where our image is. So to show where our image is, we can come here to assets. Now in assets, we have an image icon. So what if we want to display this icon onto our virtual device? So since we put require here, you can open our quotes and then with /assets, then /icon.png. Then we save, come back to our virtual device and see if our image is there. Now we are getting an error. It is saying syntax. We're having a syntax error. So let's check through our syntax error. If we come here, I might have misspelled assets most likely. Yes, I misspelled assets. Because assets is supposed to be spelled like this. Assets. So when you come back and we refresh, as our virtual device is getting refreshed, we can see that our image has been placed. Our image has been placed onto the screen. This is the icon image that has been placed onto the screen. Now, what if we wanted to pull an image from, let's say from online image, not an image that is in our local directory? So to do that, let's come here, open up a new tab, go to the website pcsum.photos. Go to that website, pcsm.photos. Now this website is a random image generator website. So we shall pick out this code, this URL. Now this URL, what it means, every time we call on this URL, it's going to return for us a random image which is size 200 by 300. So now if you are pulling an image from the net, you don't need require. What you need is an object, and in this object you need to define your URI, your uniform resource indicator. And in your URI, I'm going to pass in that URL. Then let me run the code and see. But when I run the code, I can see that my image it is not there. The reason why it's not there, I have not yet defined the width and the height of the image. So I need to define the width and the height. So I'll come down here inside my new object which I've just defined. Then I'll do my width 200, comma. Then I'll do my height 300. So after that, I rerun my virtual device and then say. Now it's showing me there's an error. It's because here, instead of putting I didn't put a semicolon. So I save again and then come here. You can see that my image has been displayed. Now, to reload my virtual device, you can press on Android, you press R, and it's going to reload for me. It's going to reload for me the reload for me the file. So I'm going to say reload, RR to reload. So it will reload for me the file. Let me say dismiss. So it will reload for me the file. Now our image component has different properties. So if you want to know the different properties of your image component, go to the documentation. When you reach the documentation, go downwards. Where's the documentation? Here. Then when you reach the documentation, come here to images. Look on your left hand side, and then you will see the different components. You will see the different properties of the image component. So let me check if my virtual device is working. I'll be back when it is working. Let me check what's wrong with it. Now I'll be back. Now our images component has different properties. Now I'm going to pick out one property. Let me come in on images. So I'm going to pick out one property and see, and then show you how it works. So the one I'm going to pick out is blur radius. Now what does blur radius do? It applies a blur effect on the image. It means that it makes the image blurry. So to implement this blur property, come here to image and then type in the command blur radius, and then I'm going to put in 10 to blur it as 10. So then I've saved my code. Then I'm going to check. You can see that my image has been blurred. If I blur it, let's say by 1, then save, you can find and see my image has been blurred by 1. So the image component has different properties that are predefined in Expo. So if I come here on Chrome, I can see that my image component has different properties that are predefined. So you can look at style is also a component on my image, and then accessible is also a component. On error, now this on error, it is an event component, meaning that when an error happens and maybe the image has failed to load, it can call on a function or a callback function to do some task that has been maybe predefined when the image has failed to load. So now this is my image component. So thank you for watching. Now today we're going to talk about touchables. Now there are usually three types of touchables. There's touchable highlight, there's touchable opacity, and there's touchable without feedback. So we are going to look at all of them one at a time. So let's come back here to our VS Code, and then let's when we reach our VS Code, what we can do now, we can remove, let's remove this image component. Then when we remove our image component, let's import our we're going to start with touchable highlight. So let's come here, give a comma, and then try to import our touchable highlight. So when we import our touchable highlight, you can come here, open touchable highlight, the one we imported, and I can probably cut that out, paste it inside here, then we close our touchable component, our touchable highlight. Now that is our touchable highlight. Then here we can tab touchable highlight. So let's go back to our code and see. Now our code, so in this case we have created our touchable highlight. Now let's go back to our virtual device and see. So when I click on this text, it is highlighted, like highlighted. Now our touchable highlight has different properties to it. So to know the different properties it has, we can come here to the documentation, and then we can see the different properties. It has an on press property. So let's test out that on press property. So let me copy this to save time. So copy. Then when I come back here on my touchable highlight, I can now put in my on press property. So then I can save, and I can come back here on my virtual device. So when I click here on press, you can see that I've been alerted that this component has been pressed. So that is my touchable highlight. So in the coming videos, I'm going to talk more about this alert component or this alert API. I'm going to talk more about it. Now there are also other touchables. We can also have touchable opacity. So let me call it, let me delete this, and then I import touchable. I can do touchable, then opacity, that one. I import my touchable opacity. Then I'm going to change this, highlight this, Control D to change both of them. Then I'm going to put touchable. Let me say touchable opacity. So now, what's the difference between touchable opacity and touchable highlight? Now, touchable opacity makes the touchable to reduce in opacity. Touchable opacity makes the touchable to reduce in opacity. Touchable highlight, it darkens the background of the touchable. So let's save this touchable opacity. Save, then we come back here and dismiss. Let me minimize. So let me save this. So what touchable opacity does, it makes the touchable, or it reduces the opacity of the touchable. Now touchable highlight, the previous one we looked at, what it does, it darkens the background of the touchable. Now there's also another one called touchable. Let me go back here to there's what we call our touchable without feedback. Now what our touchable without feedback does, when you click on the touchable, you will see that nothing is happening, meaning that there will be no feedback. Nothing will happen. And when you see that nothing is happening, but our touchable without feedback has a property on press. So something could be happening in the background, but for you or the user on the application will not be able to see anything happening. So those are the three touchables we have. We have our touchable highlight, touchable opacity, and our touchable without feedback. So thank you for watching. So welcome back. In this tutorial, we are going to talk about buttons, or the button component in React Native or Expo CLI. Now to use our button component, we're going to first need to import it. So I'm going to import button from React Native. So after importing button, now I need to call the button. So I'll come here in my container, open, close, then I'll close here then I'm going to now declare my button component. So button. So after declaring my button component, it has some properties like title. So the title I'm going to put click me. Click me. And after the button, it also has another event property on press. So when the button is clicked, the on press will be called and it needs a function. So the function, I'm going to make my quick function here equal to, and then what the function will call, to console.log. What it will console.log is, let's go back here, it will console.log clicked. Let me call it console.log clicked, and let me save. So when I come back here to my virtual device, I can see my button here, click me. So I'll click the button and then it's going to console.log clicked, as I can see here. So when I click my button again, it should also console.log clicked again. I can see clicked has been console.logged. So now this is a button in React. Nothing big, nothing much. If you want to know more of the properties that a button has, you can come here to the documentation of reactnative.dev/doc/button. Then you can see the different properties that the button has. So welcome back. Now in this case, we're going to talk about the alert. Now what is the alert? So what you can do, you can create your button here as I've created here. After creating your button, we can come down here and create this function handle press. Now in this function handle press, what we can do, instead of console.log pressed, we can come here. Then what we shall do, we shall call our alert. Then maybe you can alert pressed. So we shall be alerting pressed. Now when the button is clicked, we need to show that we are alerting pressed. So to do that, we shall have to call the function handle press. So after us calling the function handle press, we save, we come back to our virtual device and click. So when you click on our virtual device, you can see that we have been alerted pressed. But now this has a bunch of problems which people may not want. What if I don't want it to show here alert, and I want to show something else? How would I do that? So how I can solve that problem, I can come here and import. I will import alert. Now this alert that I import is not a component, but it is like an API. So when I import my alert, I can come here to my main function, and then I'll call alert, then dot. So when I call alert dot, you can see that it has two properties. The property it has an alert property, and it has a prompt property. But the prompt property mainly works in iOS, not Android. So I'm going to pick out my alert property. So from my alert property, I will close my brackets. Now it has a bunch of arguments I have to enter. The first argument, as you can see here, is the title. So it will show me what title do I want to enter. Then the message I want to show. Then it will have to show my buttons. So the way I can now do this is this. I want to enter a title. So the title which I'm going to say is maybe my title. I want it to be, it's supposed to be a string, and I'm going to say error. Maybe that's my title, error. Then the next one will be my message. So what message will I show the person? I will say, you have done an error. Then the next one is my buttons. Now my buttons come in a list. So I need to pass in a list. And in the list there should be objects of each button. So I'm going to put my first object, and then my title I'm going to put text. My first object will take in text, and then the text will be maybe the button text, which I'm going to put, maybe they should be yes. Then I'll go and make another object. Now in this object I'm also going to pass in text, and then the text will be no. So this will be my two objects. So then I save. So after me saving, I come back here on my virtual device, I click. So when I click, you can see that my title has now been error, and it has shown me you have done an error. So I can click yes or no, yes or no. Now you will ask me, how do I maybe when you come here, when someone click me and then it showed this alert, when the person clicks yes, how should I what should I do? So to solve that problem, you come here on your first object or your first button. Remember, the buttons, you have to make a list and pass it inside. So you come here to your first button, and on your first button you can press a comma on the object, and then you can now define the on press. So the on press you define, you put my semicolon, and then you have to pass to it in it a function. Now the function you'll pass in equal sign arrow, then you can maybe console.log, maybe yes, let me say console.log, let's go here, what you console.log, yes has been pressed, and you can save. So I'll come back here to my virtual device, yes. So when I click here, then I click on yes, and then it will run my function which will console.log yes has been pressed. So when I come here on my logs, I can see that it has printed out yes has been pressed. So that is how you can design your different alerts on the way you would like to design it. Thank you for watching. So welcome back. Now in this video we are going to talk about the style sheet API. Now how you pass different styles. Now to pass a style, the one way you can do it, you can come and then make a new object, and then you pass in a style of something like pass in a style of background color. Let's use the background color, and then maybe I can give in the background color Dodger blue. I think. Let me put in the background color of orange. Then I save. You come here to your virtual device, and you can see that your background has been made orange, as you can see down here. But it has only been made where the text was. But now you can see that you can define your background here, or you can come down here and make a new variable which you can call maybe let's call it SN sun, and then in the sun we can pass in this background here. Copy and then make it here in sun, and then here we shall change our style here to be sun, and then we save. So when you come back here, you can see that it is the same effect. Now you will ask the question, why do I need to use style.create when I could just define my styles without the need to call on the API style sheet? And the reason for that is simple, is that my style.create, if I make an error like here on background color, let me say background colors, and I save this, and then instead here, when the style that I'll pass here will be my styles. Let me call on my styles dot container, then I save. So in this case, when I do it in this case and then I make a mistake here on background color, let's say I make background color, let me save, and then I come back here, it will usually show me an error. Because I made an error, it will show me the error. But let me change this to background color, and then let me change this style here to sun. But if I use sun here, and then my property, my color property here, I misspell it to something like this, and I run the code, you can see that it will not show me an error that I made an error. It will just show for me. It won't do the background color. So in this case, your stylesheet.create will help you catch errors if you have like misspelled or misrepresented a style. It will help you to catch the errors. So if I come here to background color, I save, and then I show here, you can see that my background color has come back down. So that is the use of stylesheet.create. Now in the coming videos, I'm going to go deep into styling, how you do different styles in React Native. I will do that in the coming videos. So thank you for watching. So now in this video, I'm going to talk about how to know which platform you're on, whether the application is being run on Android or iOS, and then you make the necessary changes. So to do that, you need to come here and import platform. So after importing platform, let's come here to my platform. The platform I'm using is iOS. Now you can see here that in this case, our hello world or our text, our hello world is up there. It is not well centered on my screen. So, but if you go to the case of iOS, you can use safe. Instead of using view, you can use safe area view, and it will pad for you that automatically. But in my case, I'm using Android. So to solve this problem, I can come here, and then on my style, I'm going to use a new style, padding top. Now this padding top, I'm going to call my platform platform.os. if the platform.os is equal to Android, hope I've spelled it right. If it's equal to Android, what I should do, I should make the padding 20. If it's not, I should make the padding 0. Then I can put my comma. So then I save. Then I come back here. Now, I'm getting an error. So let's see what the error is about. Value Android. So I think I misspelled Android. I think it's supposed to be spelled IO, like that, probably, most likely. Let's reload. So now you can see that my platform.os is equal to Android. If not, if it's equal to Android, make the padding top to be 20. If not, make it to be 0. So when I come here, and then I see it has now padded me properly. It's no longer colliding with that status bar. But how do you know that the padding is supposed to be 20? So now in most cases you should not do this, because different phones or different Android phones have different padding. So what you should do, you should import your status bar from export status bar. After importing your status bar, instead of putting here 20, what you do here, call status bar, then call it, it has an argument called current height. So this will automatically get for you the current height of the status bar, and then it will use that current height as the padding you need to make that text, or to make your view, this view here, to be padded, some padding from the top status bar. So that is how you can write platform specific code, meaning that's how you can know which platform you are on, and you usually write this logic to do different things for different platforms. Platform.os is equal to Android. If it is Android, then make the padding to be the status bar dot current height. If not, make it to be 0. So that is how you can do different code for platform specific, or do platform specific code.